Pontiac's innovative mid-engine Fiero is one sensational car, but some people want even more.
Nah, no thanks.
Okay, see you later.
Fiero's unique Enduraflex body resists dents and won't rust, but some people want even more.
Suit yourself.
So with a newly available high-output V6 and a hot new GT version, Pontiac announces even more Fiero.
We build excitement.
Pontiac. So the Mustang is gone. The wagon's been gone for a while. I needed a road car, track car, and Fiero is what I settled on. And then I went hunting on Facebook Marketplace and found this one. Time I bought it, 31,000 or so original miles on it. Been in storage for a good 20 years. Bought it from the original owner. He bought it from a small dealership in north central PA, about a mile from where he lived. Yeah, small town. Story was his wife had a friend who had bought an 84 when they first came out, 84 being the first year for the Fiero, and his wife liked it, and when it was time for her to get a car, which was the next year, she said to her husband, you know, I really like the Fieros. What do you think about a Fiero? Well, he'd already been looking at them because he too liked them. So they ended up with this 85 GT, which for 85, this was the top of the line. You could get the V6 in the SE model, but that was more outfitted at like the base. I don't think it had power windows. I don't think it came with a sunroof. It may have as an option. But this one, 4-speed Muncie transmission. Again, I've driven it some, so those miles, you can see them are now updated. But this is how I got it. I have not cleaned it up. What I have done, to be fair, is I did glue or re-glue the vinyl to the plastic housing up there. It was pulling away. Let's pop the to that and the front. Take a look at the engine compartment. So for those of you unaware, originally the Fiero came out in '84 as their designation 2M4, which I believe will stand for two-seater, mid-engine, four-cylinder, because the original engine was the 2.5-liter Iron Duke. Not sure about transmissions. I'm assuming you can get I think it's a 5-speed Isuzu manual or a automatic transmission, 3-speed. But when they came out with the V6, they needed something that would hold the torque more reliably, so they put in a Muncie 4-speed instead of that Isuzu 5-speed. And I'm sure you could still get the same automatic, a little more forgiving. Hidden underneath this panel is the battery. 2 screws there, easily removable to access that. And then on the other side is the air cleaner assembly. Lots of interesting details. This is the cruise control right through there, which does not work. There's very few things not working on this car. An immaculate rear trunk storage compartment. That is a cover for the sunroof. When we go to the front, I'll show you. These would be obviously original wheels, not original tires, but back to originality. Everything on this engine is original other than the oil filter. So those would be original spark plug leads. we're looking at all original hoses and belts. Belts are tucked down on this side. That would be the marking on an original radiator hose. These are all original bushings, still in good shape. This car, for those that don't know, it's plastic or fiberglass panels over a space frame. And so all of these unbolt and come right off. Dropped a little toolbox in there just in case, but this is all original. More than likely, this has never been used. The spare tire, that is. Again, back to GM original hoses. Now I've got replacement hoses for all of this, and I will, and belts, so I'll replace all of those things, and for that matter, brake hoses. But you can see all the originality here. The sunroof, when it comes off, will lay in here, and then this part is a deflector that will sit across the front leading edge of that sunroof opening. Back to the story on the car, the wife and husband drove it around for a couple years. Then they had their first kid, and it was time to get a family car. And after that, this car sat under a cover in a garage for the better part of, well, let's say from like the late 80s until a couple years ago. So 2022, 23, when, and sadly the gentleman's wife had passed away. He decided, at the prompting of one of his sons, to get it out from the shed and out from under the car cover that it had been hidden under for so many years. And they were able to, with very little effort, get it back on the road. And he decided, given he had a couple other projects, that he would like to move this on. And I was the fortunate person to take possession. So, what are my plans? Well, it needs some attention to the clear coat, because the car cover over the years has kind of rubbed back and damaged the clear coat in most horizontal surfaces. So I did start with this panel. I've got a video on polishing that, and that worked out better. I mean, before I started that, it looked, I don't know if the camera's picking this up, it looked pretty rough, but I did, with polishing and waxing and rubbing compound, improve things. There's a crack here. You may have noticed that as I was coming around. The dew wipes, whatever they're called here, not doing so well, but still all there. I mean, a lot of times you see these, they're gone. The interior, again, is in really, really good condition. The radio works now. There'll be a video on my getting the radio repaired. The only button that worked on it was the volume up button. Well, the only button on the control, but I'll go over that, like I said. That's about all there is to it. Radiator overflow, got window washing fluid, the wipers work, the spray works. Yeah, it's all in great running condition, great working condition. This one headlight can be a little stingy. Going back down, they both pop up. So it's a two-handed job getting this back down. So I'll be lowering it now. And back to my plans. The the brakes are four-wheel disc. The front brakes, both brakes are solid rotor. They're not a vented rotor. There's a so-called Grand Am brake fix, and I'm going to implement that. Again, I'll keep all the stock stuff for the next owner. The Grand Am is the same diameter, so it fits within the wheel and has basically the same stopping torque to not mess with the balance. And it is a vented rotor instead, but because it's thicker, it requires a different caliper, but that caliper will bolt up to the existing brake mounting plate. What else? I talked about the paint. The car comes inherently with understeer. The fix for that is to move the roll bar, anti-sway bar from the front to the rear and get a larger diameter sway bar from one of the Fiero vendors for the front. Speaking of the front and rear suspension, for those that didn't know, the front suspension is directly out of that same vintage early 80s Chevrolet Chevette. And the rear suspension, interestingly enough, is the front suspension of a Chevy Celebrity, Pontiac, Phoenix, etc. Did I say Celebrity? Citation. Chevy Citation, the first of GM's front-wheel drive cars, which was offered with the 4 and the 6, the same engines. But what they've done is they've taken the tie rods and they have fixed them to the frame so that these otherwise turning front wheels are fixed in place, and that's adjustable. So that's just an interesting aside. GM's first mid-engine car, well before the current vintage of Corvettes, a rear-wheel drive car using front-wheel drive geometry and parts.